In a hidden lab, a medical company was developing a medicine they claimed would cure diabetes, but their methods were neither ethical nor safe. They secretly tested the drug on patients, hiding the devastating truth. The medicine didn't cure diabetes. Instead, it triggered bizarre and horrific side effects, transforming its test subjects into slow, weak zombies. Though the signs of danger were clear, the company continued their experiments, determined to push forward no matter the cost. One evening, a secret door at the company opened, and out stumbled a boy, no longer fully human. The drug had transformed him into a zombie. With a slow, unsteady gait, he wandered toward the nearest village, hungry yet seemingly harmless, like a zombie high from the meanest Snoop Dogg weed. Not far away, a couple was driving along a village road. Unbeknownst to them, a sharp object lay in their path, strategically placed by a mechanic named June, who hoped to puncture a tire or two so he could find new customers for his repair business. His plan worked. The couple's car hit the sharp object, swerved, and crashed against the bridge's railing. Shortly afterward, June appeared, eager to help the stranded couple. "Lucky for you, I'm here to help," June grinned, leading them to his village shop to start the repairs. The next morning, he presented them with a hefty bill. When the couple tried to pay with a credit card, June's demeanor shifted, clearly unimpressed. As they hesitated, June's wife and daughter stepped out from their home, wielding a meat cleaver and grinning in a way that left the couple nervous and eager to pay. They handed over the cash and quickly left. Meanwhile, the zombie boy had finally reached the village. Unlike typical zombies, he was slow and feeble, incapable of scaring anyone. Even the village children found it amusing to poke fun at him. Suddenly, a dog spotted him and immediately began to bark, growling and snapping. Terrified, the zombie stumbled away, trying to find a place to hide. He eventually darted into a public washroom and shut the door, hoping the dog would leave him alone, but the barking only grew louder. June's father, noticing the noise, wandered over to investigate. As he opened the door to the washroom, the zombie lunged forward, biting him on the head before escaping back into the village. Shaken, June's father managed to stagger home, holding a cloth to his bleeding head. A short time later, June's daughter spotted the zombie stumbling toward her. He looked pathetic, not at all like the scary creatures she'd seen in movies, but she wasn't about to let him get close. She turned to run, and just as she did, the dog reappeared, chasing the zombie once more. Meanwhile, June's younger brother was returning to the village after a failed job hunt in the city. Just as he arrived, he noticed his niece running with the zombie and the dog close behind. Alarmed, he joined in, sprinting alongside her. The chase ended abruptly when June pulled up in his truck and the zombie, not paying attention, ran headlong into it, tumbling off into the nearby field. June, his family, and his brother watched in disbelief. The zombie slowly got up, dusted himself off, and began to hobble away once again. The dog resumed the chase, and the zombie, resigned to his fate, continued to stumble forward. Back at home, June and his family discussed the strange events of the day. They were stunned that the man, seemingly human, had survived such a hard impact. Soon after, an ambulance arrived to check on June's father, who was still suffering from his bite wound. As night fell, the dog was still hot on the zombie's trail. The dog surely listened to David Goggins before. Seeking refuge, the zombie slipped into June's garage, hoping for a moment of peace. Meanwhile, June's father had retired to his makeshift van home, which he had converted into a livable space where he spent his nights dreaming of vacations he couldn't afford. As he lay there, he began to feel feverish, his body temperature rising. Unknown to him, the zombie's bite had infected him, and a virus was beginning to spread through his body. Later that night, June's daughter heard noises coming from the garage. Curious, she went to investigate, bringing her grandfather along. When they entered, June's father recognized the zombie as the creature who had bitten him earlier. Enraged, he attacked the zombie, seeking revenge for the injury. His granddaughter quickly called for help, and the entire family gathered around the garage. They watched in shock as the zombie, who they had thought was finally defeated, suddenly lurched back to life. Panicked, they shut the garage doors, locking the zombie inside. June's brother, who had spent the evening researching zombies, suddenly recalled a scene from a famous zombie movie, Train to Busan. "He's a zombie, that's why he isn't dying," he exclaimed, trying to convince his family. June's father, bitten by the zombie, was also at risk. June's wife, worried he'd turn into a zombie, quickly knocked him unconscious and locked him in the van just in case. That night, June's brother researched every bit of zombie lore he could find. He gathered the family together and explained, "Zombies crave human brains." Just as he finished, their father stumbled in, still feverish but not yet a zombie. Mistaking him for one, June's brother attacked him in a panic. When June realized his father wasn't infected, he became furious and began scolding his brother for jumping to conclusions. In the midst of the chaos, June's daughter, feeling curious and a little sorry for the trapped zombie, returned to the garage. She quietly slid a cabbage through a gap in the door, and to her surprise, the zombie began to munch on it, mistaking it for a human brain. As the days went on, the family adapted to their unusual guest, hiding the zombie from the villagers and managing his strange, harmless behavior. June's daughter even found herself sneaking vegetables into the garage, and the zombie ate them gratefully, finding solace in his new diet. In a strange way, the zombie had found a place in their lives, even if he would never truly fit in. Though the village never knew the full story, the family kept their secret well, watching over their zombie and trying to uncover the truth behind the company's dark experiments. Through quiet acts of kindness and shared glances of understanding, they protected the zombie and each other, forming a peculiar bond no one could ever have anticipated. June's wife arrived just as June's daughter was leaving the house. She quickly noticed a zombie lurking nearby and, with remarkable courage, used a pair of pliers to pull out all the creature's teeth. No teeth, no bite, she thought. Now that the zombie couldn't harm anyone, June's family decided to keep it around for a bit of an experiment. That same night, a strange thing happened. June's elderly father, who had been bitten by the toothless zombie, started to feel different. Instead of turning into a zombie, he felt younger, stronger, and more energetic. As he examined himself in the mirror, he could hardly believe his eyes. He looked like a much younger version of himself. Overjoyed, June's father ran to the village to share his miracle with his friends. Naturally, they were amazed and pestered him to reveal his secret. With a twinkle in his eye, he explained that he'd been bitten by a zombie, and instead of becoming one, it had somehow restored his youth. His friends, eager to reverse their own aging, begged him to let the zombie bite them too, even offering to pay for the chance. June's brother, overhearing all this, had a bright idea. Struggling with unemployment, he saw an opportunity to make some quick money. He decided to borrow the zombie and sell its services to others desperate for youth. With a bold plan in mind, he loaded the zombie into a truck, but while speeding down the road, he got pulled over by the police. They checked the truck and, to their horror, found a zombie tied up in the back. June's brother was promptly arrested and brought to the police station. When June's family arrived at the station, his father, seeing a chance to claim the zombie, spoke up saying, "This zombie is my son." Somehow the story convinced the officers and the family was allowed to take the creature home, where they locked it in the garage. June's daughter took on the role of caretaker for the zombie, even feeding it cabbage. While doing so, they all noticed something peculiar. The zombie had no teeth. It was clear someone had yanked them out, leaving the poor creature harmless but helpless to deliver any more youth-bringing bites. June's father, ever the crafty one, soon came up with a plan. He happened to have a set of fake teeth. With a mischievous grin, he fixed them into the zombie's mouth, transforming it into a biter once more. Now the family set up a whole business, charging the elderly villagers to let the zombie bite them. June's wife kept the money safely stashed away as their profits grew. The next morning, the entire village was buzzing with excitement. The elderly who had been bitten were visibly younger, filled with a new sense of vitality and happiness. But as June's family enjoyed their newfound wealth, June's father grew a bit too fond of his money. He decided it was time to fulfill his lifelong dream of visiting a tropical island, and, without telling anyone, sneaked away with a hefty share of the earnings. The villagers, seeing the success stories of their peers, lined up to pay for a bite from the miraculous zombie. For a while, June's family made a small fortune, but June's daughter couldn't ignore the guilt growing inside her. She had started to care about the zombie, who, despite being a monster, seemed grateful for her kindness. One evening, she took him to the forest and gently told him to run away. But the zombie, sensing her warmth, refused. "I want to stay with you," he seemed to say in his own silent way. Trouble soon arrived in the form of a wedding. As people gathered to celebrate, an unsettling change began to unfold. Those who had been bitten by the zombie now started showing symptoms of the zombie virus, slowly transforming into the undead. In no time, chaos erupted as the newly turned zombies began biting everyone in sight. The peaceful village turned into a battlefield, as terrified villagers ran to escape the spreading infection. Back at home, June's family was in a state of panic. They locked themselves inside, but they knew it was only a matter of time before the zombies came knocking. In the midst of this, June's wife, who was pregnant, went into labor. With no choice, June's brother drove to the hospital, but their car was surrounded by zombies before they could even get close. Thinking quickly, June and his brother devised a risky plan. They pretended to be zombies themselves and crept past the horde to reach their car. But just as they were about to drive away, they realized the keys were still inside the house. Trapped and surrounded, they were ready to lose hope when June's daughter bravely came to their rescue. Unfortunately, her actions caught the zombies' attention and they started to close in on her. Sensing the danger, the main zombie, the one who had formed a bond with her, suddenly jumped to her defense, keeping the other zombies away. Back in the small van, June's wife gave birth, and the baby's cries filled the air, attracting more zombies to their location. Taking advantage of the distraction, June managed to slip into the house, grab the car key and escape just in time. The family scrambled into the car as June's brother set the zombies ablaze with a splash of petrol, creating a massive explosion that bought them enough time to escape. As dawn broke, however, a grim truth was revealed. June, who had been bitten during the chaos, was beginning to turn. Realizing they couldn't risk staying with him, his family got out of the car and left him behind. But just as things seemed hopeless, June's father made a surprise return from his island adventure. Unaffected by the zombie virus, he was now the only one with a natural immunity. The family soon discovered that his immunity could be shared. June's father's blood contained an antibody that could cure the infected. With a new sense of purpose, June's father began biting the zombies one by one, returning them to their human selves. Grateful and relieved, people paid him generously for saving their lives. Soon he cured his son June and even the main zombie, who had become attached to June's daughter. With everyone restored, the village could finally breathe a sigh of relief. June's father, now a celebrated hero, continued his unusual cure, healing anyone bitten by the zombie. As he wandered through the country, helping people wherever he went, his family returned to their quiet lives, grateful for the strange but ultimately happy turn of events. In the end, June's father, June, and even the formerly toothless zombie found peace and a new beginning, leaving behind a village forever changed by a very unusual outbreak. Subscribe and drop a like if you enjoyed this story, my friend. I upload every other day. Watch the recaps on the right next to stay entertained. Grab your popcorn, enjoy yourself, and see you soon.